So what I have here is my multimeter, and I need to do a repair. Unfortunately, one of the leads broke off the ground here, as you can see. So what I did was I cut back the plastic here and I just resoldered the wire back on, so I have the lead back together. But now this is kind of weak, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to repair this. I'm going to reinforce this, and I could use epoxy or some type of adhesive, but what I have here is this stuff here called ShapeLock. I've had this a couple years. I've used it, I bought it a few years ago just to do some prototyping on parts and stuff, and it's a thermoforming plastic. So it's really strong, and all you need is some hot water. I think it says 150 degrees Fahrenheit, 65 degrees centigrade. And what you do is you put it in water, or you could heat it with a heat gun or any other means. You could even microwave it or maybe bake it. And what it does is it turns from this white to, and from this opaque to a clear. And then it'll start sticking together, and then you can use it to form around parts, and I'll show you what I'm going to do to repair that. Now, something to keep in mind is if you're trying to repair other plastic parts, this plastic, depending on the type of plastic you're bonding it to or surrounding, it can actually fuse to that plastic as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I've boiled some water in my kettle. I'm going to pour some water out. I'm going to take a little bit of the pellets. I'll probably need about that much. Put it in, and the nice thing about it is if you mess it up, you can reheat it and reuse it, so that's really nice. I also wrote the company, and they said apparently you can dye this as well using pigments, maybe even food coloring. So as you can see, it's turned clear, right? So this is what it originally looked like, and then it starts turning clear. So grabbed a stick here. I'm just going to see, as you can see now, it all has stuck together. It'll stick together on its own. It'll just bond to itself. So I'm just going to grab it. I'm going to just take what I want to fix, and I'm going to just place it around it. See if I can get this in focus here. You can also file and sand this stuff afterwards, but it's best to try to get this all formed up so you don't have to do as much later. Or, because it's starting to harden up a bit, I'll just dip it back in. There. So that's looking pretty good. So that'll relieve the stress around that joint now. So it's a little bigger than the original. I could take my time and just reshape it, but I end up just using all the pellets that I threw in. And as long as it fits back into the multimeter, just see if they go side by side, make sure there's enough room and there's enough clearance. Perfect. So now I'm just going to let this cool. As you can see, it's starting to become opaque again. Now I could speed this up by dunking it into cold water as well. Okay, I grabbed some cold water just to speed this up a bit. It's starting to turn more and more white again, opaque. And there we have it. Nice and strong. And this stuff is super strong. Like, you could smash this with a hammer and it won't blink an eye. So there we go. Not the prettiest, but it works. If I really took my time, I could have made it the proper size and made it kind of identical, maybe even dyed it, but hey, it's just a cheap multimeter.